Hi, welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making today is a delicious Easter pudding. And before I get started on telling you how to make this delicious Easter pudding, I like to wish everyone a happy Easter for you and all of your families. And I hope that you enjoyed this video today, and if you got a moment in your day or the next day, you might want to make this Easter pudding just to enjoy with a delicious white sauce. One of our main ingredients in this delicious Easter pudding is your mixed peel, which is a mixed fruit that you would use for making a fruit cake. So what I'm going to do is get started by adding in the ingredients, and I'll tell you how much we would need for each thing as we go. So of course what we're going to need is a nice bowl that you could mix everything in, and a mixing spoon. If you got a KitchenAid or a food processor, you could use that as well. I'm going to be using half a cup of room temperature or slightly melted butter, and a third of a cup of white sugar. You could use a light brown sugar if you wish, that's fine, or you could use an organic sugar. So what I'll do now is just mix this together until it's nice and creamy. We're going to be using a half a teaspoonful of vanilla. We're going to be using a half a teaspoonful of almond extract. Just put that on in there. This is just to give that a nice flavor. And then you mix that around. I can smell it coming up now. It's so delicious. Just the smell we need right now for Easter. That's baking. Okay, and that's creamed up nice, and I'll tell you what's next. And now we're going to be using the some of the zest from a navel orange. You just grate it on in, and maybe half a teaspoonful. It doesn't matter. You can put as much as you like, because we're going to be using lots of fruit in this pudding. And we're going to be doing the same with a lemon. It's about the same of the zest. And just put it on in, and the smell is absolutely delicious. This helps to infuse all of those flavors. So nice. Okay, that's good for that. So after you've zested in your orange and your lemon, just stir that around. So what we're going to do now is sift in all of our dry ingredients. So what you would need now is an L sifter. We're going to be putting in 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder, half a teaspoonful of sea salt, and a quarter of a teaspoonful of nutmeg, freshly grated. Okay, so let's get started. So we're just gonna sift in our flour, leaving about a tablespoonful to put your fruit, to douse your fruit in, and your raisins, just to coat it. And the 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder, and then the half a teaspoonful of sea salt, and of course your 1/4 of a teaspoonful of nutmeg. And just sift all of that in to your butter and sugar. So I'm just going to stir this lightly, just until I start incorporating all of those ingredients together. And then what we're going to do next is add in 2 eggs to a 1 cup of milk. I'll show you that. I'm using 1 cup of evaporated milk, but you could use fresh milk if you want to. 2 large eggs. I'm just going to crack them first, put them into a container, just to make sure there's no shells or anything else before I add them to my milk. And then I'm just going to dump it on in here to the milk, and I'm going to stir it around. But before I start stirring it around, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to be putting in a half a cup of mixed fruit into a bowl, and about 1/3 of a cup of raisins of choice, any kind at all. And the flour that we had left over from mixing into our bowl, toss that on in there. And this is basically just to coat it like this, and this would help it from falling to the bottom of your pudding when it's baking. So we're going to put this to the side, and now I'm going to stir my egg into the milk. So just stir those eggs into the milk just to blend it all through equally, like this. And now what I'm going to do now is reach for my flour and butter mixture, and we're going to gradually blend that into that. So then you're just going to gradually mix the milk and egg into your flour mixture. And if you got, like you said, a KitchenAid or a food processor, you can just work that in there gradually while it's mixing itself. But if not, just enjoy making your pudding with a spoon and just mixing around until all of the flour is incorporated. So then after you got all of that mixed in through and starting to cream, you're going to toss in your fruit and the flour like this. And all you're going to do with this is fold this in, because you don't want to beat that in there. And of course, if you're using a food processor now or a KitchenAid, you want to take the hook out and just fold this in with your spoon. And that's all you're going to do. And I'll show you what's next. So that's pretty much all you need to do to make your delicious Easter pudding. But what you would need now is a pudding bowl for baking, or you could use a pan. You could use a square pan that you would make your bread in, or a cake pan, whatever you want to do. But this is a baked pudding, so it doesn't necessarily mean you got to have it looking a certain way. What I'm doing here now is just lightly greasing the inside of my baking pan, and then what I'll do is toss all of this batter into it, and I'll tell you what's next. So pretty much that is the pan that I'm going to be baking my pudding in. This is not going to be a steamed pudding. This is going to be a baked pudding. And I was telling you at the beginning that I'm going to show you how to make a delicious white cream sauce that will go over this. Most of my puddings I've showed you how to make a caramel sauce, and that was pretty popular years ago in Newfoundland. But I got a recipe from my mom and my Aunt Clara for a cream sauce to go over this pudding. So this is going to be exciting and ever so tasty. So you just put all of your batter in there and just smooth it around, and that's all you need to do with that. So what you would need to do now is put your pudding in a 350-degree preheated oven for 1 hour or until golden brown. When your buzzer goes off, just poke a little hole inside just to make sure it comes out clear. If that's the case, take it out. If you've still got a little bit of cake batter on it or pudding batter, put it back in for another 5 minutes or so. So again, depending on your oven. So I'm going to put mine in the oven, and then we're going to get starting to make our white cream sauce. Okay, so while our delicious Easter pudding is baking in the oven, we're going to make our white cream sauce. And again, like I said, thanks to my mom and Aunt Clara for giving their insight on how to make this. Is half milk, half water. My Aunt Clara said she uses all water. Mom said milk, so they're sisters. I don't want to argue with them. We're going to be using about half a teaspoonful of almond extract. Again, some nutmeg, about 1/8 of a teaspoonful, 1/3 of a cup of white sugar. You could use organic sugar or a very light brown sugar if you wish. 2 tablespoonfuls of butter, and then at the end we'll be using about 1/3 of a cup of water with 2 tablespoonfuls of flour mixed in it to make a little bit of a paste. If you can't use flour, you could use cornstarch. So let's get started and making our white cream sauce. So add in your butter or margarine to your saucepan and let that start to melt. As it gets to a nice creaminess, then we're going to add in 1/3 of a cup of white sugar. So now I'm going to add in my 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and I'm going to let that mix around. And after, I'm going to add in my almond extract, and it's about 1/2 teaspoonful. You can eyeball it, just toss it on in. So you're going to add in the 1/2 cup of water and 1/2 cup of milk. If you want all milk, you can have all milk. If you want all water, you can have all water. And let that start to come to a little bit of a boil again. We're going to be tossing in now 1/8 teaspoonful of our nutmeg. You can just toss that on in and stir that around. I'm just going to put a little bit of a zest of our orange and a little bit of zest of the lemon. And let that infuse in with that delicious cream sauce. I'm going to stir this around now. Once it starts to boil again, we're going to be mixing in our flour and water mixture. So you just toss the flour on into the water, and while we're waiting for that to boil, you could be shaking this in your mason jar just to make sure there's no lumps. So after you see your pot is coming to a boil, you got all your flour and the water mixed together where there's no lumps, you'll start mixing in your paste, pour it on in, and then keep stirring it till it starts to thicken just a little, because you don't want it overly thick. You just want it enough where it just pours out over your pudding nice. And it's starting to look really good. This is what it's going to look like. Delicious. Okay, so after it came to a nice ball and it's nice and thick, just pour all that cream sauce into a mason jar or a bowl of your choice. If you're putting it out to your table and you're going to be serving it right away, you can put it in a fancy, almost like a gravy bowl, and then everybody can serve themselves. But if you're going to be making it and you're just going to have it to the side for a bit, just put it in a mason jar, put the lid on it, and then you got it there for when you need it. So I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to go get my already baked pudding, my Easter pudding, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So luckily for us, I got one made here in advance, and what I'm going to do is cut into it, show you what it looks like on the inside, and then we're going to put some of this delicious hot white cream sauce over it, and I'm going to have a taste to let you know what it tastes like. Now this pudding is good for 8 servings, but if you're anything like our family, they go back for seconds, and seldom do you have 8 servings. It's like you're lucky to get 1 serving each. So what I'm going to do now is going to cut here again, release it from the bottom, and show you what it looks like. Just look, you can see the fruit inside and all of those raisins. Now I'm just going to put it here on my plate. Put some of that white sauce over it. So I'm just going to dollop a little bit of that cream sauce over the top here. And as you can see, I mean, you can go as much as you like. In our family, again, that would be so much cream you wouldn't know what to do with it, just because you wanted that extra taste. Also, you can top it with a little bit of whipped cream or that thick carnation cream. So I just want to add a little bit of zest over the top of the individual piece, and I got a little bit of the cream. And now I'm going to have a taste and tell you what it tastes like. Okay, I'm just going to take a little small taste plus a little bit of that sauce. So delicious. You can taste all of those fruit in there, the citrus of the lemon and the lemon and the orange, excuse me, and that cream sauce. I'm so glad that my mom and Aunt Clara gave me their recipe. So I'm going to say 2 thumbs up by Bonita's Kitchen, this Easter pudding. Delicious. Just want to taste my tea to wash down my Easter pudding. We're excited to get into this one now and to actually share it with some family over our Easter. So I hope you found this recipe for Easter pudding helpful for you, and I hope you get to make it over your Easter break. Even though it's Easter pudding, you can make this one any time of the year, any season, including at Christmas time. So again, if you like this recipe, you want to see more traditional and non-traditional recipes, we got a whole bunch of viewers request recipes and Bonita's choice recipes. Go visit us on www.bonitaskitchen.com or subscribe on our YouTube channel, and every time we post a new video, you will get a notification. You can also visit us on our Facebook page, leave us a comment, a recommendation. We would love to hear from you. So, thank you for joining us once again for Bonita's Kitchen, from our kitchen to yours. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Basic ingredients: sugar, milk, half water, half milk. You could use fresh milk or carnation, which is carnation air, evaporated milk. We're using an omelette,